What's going on, young world? You are now rocking with the Now or Never podcast, the intersection of business, faith, and culture, and a part of the culture is music. So this week's guest, we have the pleasure and honor of connecting with Gaby Guerrero, Silvandgold.
Silvandgold. Call me Gaby.
There you go. And she's been doing it. Like I would say, probably the last 2 years. You put out a slew of albums, or not albums, really projects, music projects, yeah. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I became a fan a little over a year ago, because we were hearing of like this artist, we're like, who's this cat from HP, and like who's doing this thing? But just talking to you right now, we have a lot of mutual admirations for some of the artists, that I've been fans of for a year, and you as well. So we thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the for hanging out with us today, really. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. And then we're gonna get into this conversation, but part of the podcast is we want to get to know the person. The person. We know Gaby the artist by the records, and I gotta believe part of those records are who you are, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Some of the lyrics. So talk to us. I hear you talking about HP a lot. HP. So talk to us a little about what your upbringing was like and growing up in that area.
Yeah, I was born in East Los Angeles, but I was raised in Southeast Los Angeles, which is like Huntington Park, Cudahy, Bell, Maywood. I moved there when I was about 9. I was 9, and I basically went to middle school, high school there. So I consider that my hometown because that's where I was at primarily out of my adolescence. I have a lot of pride from where I'm from.
Yeah.
It didn't take, actually it took me a long time to really appreciate where I was raised, to be honest, because I don't understand the significance of, sometimes when we're like young, we don't understand the significance of our environment until we get older and we move out and we realize who we are as adults, and we're like, that place really played a huge role in who I am, who I became. And it's funny because I went to college and I studied abroad in London.
Wow, okay.
And I lived there for about 4 months. So when I was in London, I appreciated I appreciated my hometown even more. I just missed it. I missed it like crazy. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved London so much, but I missed where I was from so much. And being in a whole different environment just made me appreciate the food, the culture, my family, the cities, the neighborhood, local liquor store and stuff like that. And so when I came back from London, I was so happy. I loved London, but I was so happy to be back home. And I was so full of affection for my neighborhood, my family, my experiences. And actually when I came back was when I decided to start to pursue music, finally, after wanting to do it for so long.
How old were you when you went to study abroad?
How old was I, or how long ago?
Well, both.
Well, how long ago? Probably about 4 years ago.
Okay.
That I came back from there-ish, 3 to 4 years ago. I am 31 right now.
Okay.
31, so I was probably like, 26,
27?
Yeah-ish, yeah. So when I came back from there, I decided to just really do what I wanted to do. For once, finally, after so long of waiting, I finally did it.
That's pretty cool that like you went all the way across the world to find out that you loved, well, not find out, but to really acknowledge that you loved home. You loved home. What was the the significance of the culture? Like, talk about that culture that you now embrace.
Well, it's crazy because I guess it takes a big like a life-changing event in your life to really make you realize what's really important.
Yeah.
And so I realized what was really important was following my dreams that I was putting off because I was worried about what people were gonna think.
Yeah.
Because I was worried about what my parents were gonna think. I was worried about image. Do I fit in? Can I be a part of this? And so eventually when I came back from London, I graduated and I decided to finally do what I wanted to do. I finally did it. And it was hard.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It was hard because I am a female.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we do live in a superficial world.
Yeah.
And I grew up listening to hip hop music, and I used to watch the people that I idolized, and I didn't fit in. They didn't look like me.
Yeah.
I didn't care because I was a fan no matter what.
Yeah.
But I think subconsciously, because I didn't see myself on BET,
Yeah.
on MTV.
Rhapsody, The Basement,
I didn't see myself on Rhapsody, The Basement with Big Tigger.
Yeah.
I loved it so much, but I didn't see myself there. I didn't see myself in the album covers. It didn't matter. I loved it no matter what, and I was going to bump it no matter what. But because I didn't see myself in it, it was out of the question.
Yeah.
It was out of the question, and I was fine with that. I'm a fan. I'm a fan no matter what.
Yeah.
But I decided to finally do it because I knew I had it in me.
Yeah.
I knew I had
So
it in me.
who were some of your musical influences?
I really love Big L.
Yeah, Big L.
Big
from
L's
New
an
York.
artist that I just since I was a kid just absolutely adored. Big L and RZA a lot. I really
RZA's
like
dope.
RZA. His Bobby Digital album was a huge inspiration for me as a kid. I remember I had it at home and I used to love the cover because he looked like a superhero, right? He had like a big gun. It looked like a cartoon, but the lyrics were so dope. And so RZA, the Fugees were up there for me.
Of course, yeah.
And Little
Top.
Kim. I shouldn't have listened to Little Kim as an 8-year-old, but I didn't care.
It is what it is.
I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics as much as I was paying attention to the cadence and the delivery and the beats.
She has a swag about her. She had, there
yeah.
was just she embodied an MC, so I get it.
And even her songs that weren't singles, like in the album, they were amazing songs. So I grew up listening to that.
So those are some of your hip hop influences.
And Tupac, I have to say Tupac. I have a tattoo that says Thug Life in my arm, and I got it because of Tupac.
Because
it
of
goes
Pac.
to show you that I love Tupac very
You
much.
about that life. You about Pac. So it's dope. Like just hearing, your musical influences in hip hop. Were there any influences like immediate? Like anybody in your family play instruments or sing or do any of that? Or
No, my family did it. My big brother was the one that introduced me to hip hop because of what he would play at home. He would just play, the beat nuts and stuff, and then so I would
Good old beat nuts. Yeah.
I would take the CDs and I would play them in the boombox in my room. So I guess he sort of like paved the way for me to listen to hip hop music, and that's pretty much it though. Like we didn't have like singers, and my dad loves to sing. And when he heard me wanting to sing, he like tried his best to like guide me there. You know what I'm saying? Like he would pay for like music classes, which I wouldn't like them. I think he paid for like two different, one a piano class, one a singing class. I didn't like either. So eventually he's like, okay, that didn't work out. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it, yeah.
So listening to some of your records and like, you're an MC. You definitely are an MC.
Yeah.
Take us through that. So you had this life-changing experience in London. You realized you missed home. You realized you loved the culture for what it is. That was your heart.
Yeah, for sure.
Take us through that moment when you knew you wanted to rhyme. How did that play out for you?
So I came back, and I used to be married. I used to be married. And when I got divorced, I was, free. I was single. I was able to do the things that I really wanted to do finally, right? And so I had stopped attending a lot of like hip hop shows when I was in a relationship because I was doing other things. And so when I got divorced, I finally had the freedom to go to shows like I hadn't done in a while. And it was so great to be able to do that again, right? Both secular and non-secular, just shows. And I started to go to both like shows of bigger mainstream artists as well as local artists, like local shows in my neighborhood. And I when I went, I was sort of like amazed at the community that I was not a part of, even though I'm from the same neighborhood and I love hip hop. I was gone for so long that I was like, whoa, this is this whole community of local artists. And so I would go to these shows and I would see these artists perform. Some of them were amazingly talented, and then some of them were not. They were really bad. But it was just great to be able to see this that I was missing out on for so many years. Yeah. So I decided to go more, by myself too. I didn't have nobody coming with me, which is another story. Going to shows by yourself, you're not going to stop going because nobody wants to go with you, especially if you love it. So I would go by myself, and at one event they had an open cypher. And I was like, I could do this. So I went on there, they recorded me, they put it on Instagram, and like I got like so many follows from there. And after that, I started to get booked for a lot of local shows because of that cipher. I had no music out.
Yeah.
But because of the cipher, I was getting booked for shows.
Yeah.
And that's when it started, honestly. And that was the beginning of it. And I was already writing, you know, but I wasn't putting anything out for a lot of reasons. I didn't have the connections. I didn't know how. I didn't have a studio. I didn't have producer friends. I just had YouTube beats and I had my rhymes, and that's all I had. And then I met 12.
Yeah.
I met 12. It's funny, we were following each other on Instagram for years, but we never communicated until Effecto passed away. And when Effecto passed away, you know, I went to the Celebration of Life event.
Exactly 1 year ago. It's the 9th, I believe.
Has it been a year?
It's it's been 2 years now.
It's been 2 years that he passed.
Yeah,
It's been 2 years that he passed. And I went to the Celebration of Life event, and I met up with the people that I knew. Like, I met up with Quan, and Quan brought 12, and I was like, 12? Like, I follow you on IG. Nice to meet you in person. So we connected. We went and go eat, all three of us, and that's when 12 decided to. I told 12 my situation. I was like, look, I like to rap, you know? And then Mark was like, you do? And I was like, yes. He's like, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah. And I sing too, you know, I like to do both. And 12 was like, well, I can make beats.
Yeah.
You know, I can help you out. And I'm like, yeah. I told them, let's do it. You know, I can go to Vegas if you want, or if you want to just send me stuff online and I'll find somebody to record me. I don't have anybody to record me, I told them, but I'll find somebody. He's like, why don't you just come to Las Vegas then? So a few months passed, and then within those months, he was sending me some beats. I was liking some, I wasn't liking other ones. And eventually I went to Las Vegas.
You didn't like any beats? No, I'm kidding.
No, some I did. Some you don't like 100% of them, but
yeah,
I did like some of them. And so I went to Las Vegas ready to record. I already had the beats in my mind. I already had the rhymes. I just needed a place to record, so that's when I recorded with Mark. And
Gorilla Cross Studios, right in there. Yeah,
we recorded 4 out of the 5 albums in the EP.
Oh, wow.
In Las Vegas in about a 2-day span.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So 4 songs. And then shout out to Mark for recording us, recording me. Thank you so much.
What up, Quan?
And then I came back to Vegas, and they were doing the whole mixing over there, and we needed one more song, and I had a friend that let me record at his place, and I sent the song over, and I'm like, there you go, we got 5. So we put out the EP a few months after that, which was exactly last year.
Catch the Kite?
Catch the Kite came out 2019, last year, August 1st.
Okay.
So this past August was a year that the EP was out.
Oh, wow, congrats.
My first project ever with 12.
That's dope.
It was my first, and it sounds.
How did you feel after you released the record? Like, how did you feel?
You know what? I was very proud. I was very proud. It was my first project ever. I had never really recorded music before that, to be honest. Like in an actual studio. Mm-hmm. It was my first time recording. It was my first time doing everything. So if you want to see me at my most rookie, listen to the EP. That's my most rookie. Yeah, I think you can even tell by listening to my new music now that I was still like very like young in doing this, but it felt great, and I'm grateful for 12.
There's nothing like your first record. Yeah. There's just being in studios and being around people. You know, you put out that first record. It might not be your best work, but it's definitely your most like raw, greenest work. And it's like, to your point, hearing that you were proud of it, that's got to be a beautiful moment. And to see it age, and like to see your progression in that. And definitely 12 hugely instrumental in that.
Yeah, 12. I'm so grateful for 12. He was the first producer to ever be like, well, I'll send you beats, the first one ever. So I'm super grateful for 12.
Great,
for
dude.
Sure.
That's awesome. So I wanted to go back to something, because I heard you say something that I know only certain people say this word. So you were talking about secular shows versus regular shows, and that gives me the thought that I wonder if she used to go to church. I wonder if she used to go. I'm saying that, but in hindsight, I listen to some of your albums or some of your records, and I hear like spiritual undertones. I hear like a faith in it. Talk to me a little bit about your faith walk and how that's influenced some of your music. And because like I said, secular versus, mainstream or whatever that looks like.
Yeah,
But talk to, how does faith play into who you are?
I was raised Christian
Okay.
since I was very little. Very little, very little. I started singing in church when I was 5. And I was always in the worship team after that.
Okay.
So I was a worship leader at one point. So I've always been into music.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. And my faith has changed.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've stopped going to church and stopped being a part of like organized religion for about 4 years now. But my faith in God has strengthened, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely does.
So my relationship with God has matured and it's strengthened so much, but organized religion and the way that I used to be a part of that has diminished. So it's crazy how that works, because now more than ever away from the church have I been able to really just hear God and really have a relationship with God. I don't know if that's a similar scenario for a lot of the people that leave church, but it was for me.
So
it was for me.
Real quick, just to jump in on that.
Yeah.
So I just interviewed somebody a couple hours before we shot a podcast.
Yeah.
Very similar experience. Very similar experience. 10, 15 years in the church. And it wasn't until after he got out of organized religion that he found God. Not to discredit, like there's certain truths and there's certain fruit, like when you come to church and it's like when you have an honest and true experience with him.
Yeah.
But it's after that where it's like, you go through a season of like you're doing things because you're told to do them, or you're doing things because you don't want to be in trouble or sat down in church and ministry.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he expressed was that like he found his true relationship, and hearing you say your relationship with God strengthened.
Yeah.
So I got to believe that there's more people like that than
yeah.
than we even realize. So
I don't think church is meaningless though, because I can't sit here and say that church did nothing for me, because that's a lie.
Yeah.
One thing that my church, my pastors embedded in me was reading the Bible on my own.
Yeah.
Like going home and reading it without the pastor.
Being told, yeah.
Just doing your own research. And that's something that was imparted in me very young. So because of that, like I learned so much about God's word through God himself without having to deal with a mediator, which I did. I used to go to church and hear the pastor or whatever, but reading it on my own, it's just a whole different experience, because God is speaking to you directly, as opposed to other people translating it for you. You're translating it for yourself. And if you don't get something, then you're doing your own research.
Yeah.
Like, what does this verse mean?
You ask
I don't get
questions,
it.
you
So let me
research it.
find out elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now we have the internet. Now, so it's like, that's one thing that I will be eternally grateful for as far as church goes. My personal like reading and knowledge and seeking of God on my own. And I still do that. I still do it now. I don't need to go to church for that. Maybe some people do, but I don't. And I'm grateful for my leaders in church and how they taught me that.
Yeah.
Another thing is being in the worship team, like being on stage. I never would have been able to get comfortable being on the stage with a crowd if it wasn't for church.
Yeah.
Like now when I'm on stage with a crowd, I'm not necessarily uncomfortable anymore, because I did that for so long. Yeah, it's not church anymore, but it feels like church to me. I'm even at a hip hop show.
Yeah.
I'm still speaking.
Yeah.
I'm still saying words that they're listening to and they're receiving, And the talent I have is a talent that was given to me by God. So I feel like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
and that's why, I asked the question, because, a lot of MCs, masters of the ceremony, right? It's kind of very similar to a pastor or a worship leader.
yeah.
It's like you are ushering the presence of God when you do worship, or you're being, to your point about being a mediator or a speaker. So as an MC, like something that you're giving to the crowd is information.
Oh yeah.
Information with the rhythm, information. So, to hear, that God breathed on a lot of your lyrics, it's not overtly Christian, it's not overtly Christian hip hop, but it doesn't need to be, you know what I mean? No. So, and that's what I find the beauty in a lot of your lyrics and a lot of, the albums the records that you dropped. So that's why I asked the question about your faith journey.
I don't consider myself a Christian hip hop artist.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? I don't, because I don't feel like I don't feel like I fit that mold.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily fit in. I do say bad words,
yeah.
both in my personal life and in my music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't fit I don't fit in, and that's fine.
You mean at the church you're not gonna cut? You're not gonna drop an F-bomb?
What do you mean?
No, I'm kidding.
No, I have songs where I don't say bad words, but the point is that I do.
I totally get it.
I do have some songs where I do, and for that reason, I can't consider myself that.
Yeah.
And so I don't. I don't. But I do have a lot of faith, and like it says in the Bible, out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. So if you hear my lyrics and my songs, it's all there. I have faith no matter what, and it's there. You know?
Yeah. So I think it's visions or visionary. I think you got some lyrics in there. I'm like, that's dope.
Thank you.
That's a dope record. That one and then Windows is the most recent one you
that was a single with Destruct. Yeah.
Okay, dope. So, we're talking about upbringing. We're talking about faith in music. What have you worked on? If this is the first time the audience or the listener, talk to us about your album. So you talked about Catch the Kite. And then from there, what have you dropped? What have you put out?
Okay, so I dropped Catch the Kite last year on August 1st, and that was my first project ever. It was an EP with 12, and I was new at this. I was a rookie. And then remember I told you about the whole cypher on Instagram. Well, because of that cypher on Instagram, I was being booked for a lot of local shows, and I was meeting all kinds of people. And one of the other persons that I met was my boyfriend Destruct. He saw the video on Instagram, and he sent me a message saying, would you like to work together? And I already knew who he was because he's been in the game for like 10 years plus. So when he asked, I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm a fan of your music. I would love to work with you. So I went to his studio. We worked on a song, which the name of the song is True Lies, which is actually on my second album.
Correct.
We worked on the song, and it was a great connection. It was great. The studio was great. He was very encouraging. He was professional, and that's rare to find nowadays, especially if you're a female. So he was professional. It was great. And so the EP with 12 came out. He heard the EP, and he was impressed. He's like, wow, this is great.
Yeah, it's dope.
And he offered the opportunity to work with me on a full-length album because of the EP. And so I was like, yeah, I would love to do an album. I told him, yes, I'm ready. I would love to. And but I was honest with him. I was like, look, I ain't got no money. So if you're gonna be charging me, it's a no.
It's an IOU.
Straight up. It has to wait. And he's like, no, it's free. And I said, then let's do this.
Let's sign you up.
Let's do this. So our first studio session, when we agreed for the album, we did 3 songs that night. 3 songs. I already stuff written like crazy. I used to write like crazy.
Yeah.
So I was like, give me a beat and I'll rap over it. I have a bunch of stuff. So yes, we recorded 3 songs that first night. So it was off to a good start. And then fast forward, we did, from the time we started that first 3-song session to the time the album was fully mixed and done, it was 3 months. So it took us 3 months to do 11 songs.
Okay.
3 months. And then it was out in November of that same year. So I put out an EP in August and a full-length album in November that year. And that was my first album ever. And the album is called the Gaby Guerrero LP. And that was my first project.
So that's where I was introduced to, hearing that album. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really know about Catch the Kite. And then I was like, wait, that's dope. You know what I mean? That's dope. But the Gaby Guerrero LP, dope.
Thank you.
Very dope. Much. And you can tell that it was thought out because there's a cohesion there. There's a cohesiveness about from song 1 to song.
Thank you for paying attention to that. The order of the songs. That's
very pertinent.
I didn't know about that until my boyfriend Destruct. He's the one he's like the genius that organizes stuff. So it's interesting. I didn't know about that, but thank you for noticing. Yeah, we worked hard on that.
Yeah, you should. So it was a blessing. That album was good.
Thank you.
So then you released a bunch of singles, right? So you stepped into 2020. What were your plans for 2020 and how that played?
Well, okay, because the album came out and it was so cool. So I think locally successful, at least in my eyes. I was excited for 2020. I was excited. I came into this so optimistic. I got booked for 2 festivals early on. One of them was in Florida. They paid for my flight. The other one was Thop Fest, T-H-O-P, Thop Fest in the IE. So I was excited for 2020. I had 2 festivals booked by the time the year began, and then COVID happened. So the festivals got canceled.
Yeah.
So I was very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad, but I didn't let that stop me. And yes, I put out singles. I put out 2 singles. One of them was Visionary and the other one was Windows.
Yeah.
And then on top of those singles, I did a lot of collaborations with artists, we have the internet, so they would send me beats. I would record them at home, send them back. So I did a lot of collaborations with artists, which was great. And I had recorded music videos before COVID hit, so we put those out, which was like 3 of them. And then we recorded 2 other ones during COVID. So I put out a bunch of videos this year, like 8.
You put out a lot of content. Thank you. Because I was looking at trying to compare the records to the content, and I was like, a lot of YouTube stuff that I got to catch up on.
Yeah.
But no, what I noticed is you never stopped working.
No, I never stopped.
And you didn't let a pandemic stop you. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
It slowed it down, but it didn't stop you.
It didn't.
And that's a testament to your strength.
It didn't stop me. It didn't. And I can't even sit here and say that I did it all alone.
Yeah.
Because I did have help. Destruct was a big help. The videographers that I worked with were a big help. Just a bunch of people that believed in me, and because they believed in me, they were willing to help me.
Yeah.
And that's a blessing in itself. So yeah, I didn't stop, but also because I have help.
Yeah. So we're talking about all the content you're putting out, the albums that you're dropping. I want to revisit something because I think it's very pertinent to the conversation, and I know you probably were facing it more so before than now. I don't know. Being a female artist in a male-dominated genre.
Yeah.
How has that affected you, or if it's affected you at all, or if not? Because I know you said early on it was like you didn't resemble the people that you were watching.
Yeah.
But now you're immersed in it.
Yeah.
How's that played out for you?
Well, we like I said earlier, we do live in a very superficial world, and hip hop is very superficial.
Yeah.
It really is. And so I think when a person initially meets me and they find out that I rap, it's almost like okay, you rap, right? And I'm like, no, I really do, And I don't really. I guess I can try to discern why they think that about me because of the way that I look, but I don't know how I should look. I don't know what they want me to look like so that they can see me as somebody that's worthy, So that's something that I still deal with, and I don't think that's ever gonna stop. I think I'm always gonna be judged for my look, and that's the way it is. It's never gonna stop. So I have to stop worrying about that and worry more about about my undeniable talent.
Yeah.
Right? Because if my talent if my gifts are undeniable, then there's nothing they can say. That's all I have, right?
Yeah.
So that's a problem for me. And the thing is, just in the beginning when I first started out, I was looking for friends to work with, producers or something, and in the beginning a lot of their intentions weren't my intentions. I wanted to make music and they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't want to make the music as much as they wanted to go out with me, or ask me out. So that happened a lot. I ran into a lot of people that I wanted to make music with that wanted to go out with me and stuff. So I had to cut a lot of ties early on, a lot of trial and error. So I had to do that. Yeah.
Dealing with that.
With that, yeah. And I had to just cut a lot of ties and just really, But also I have to take risks. So I have to if somebody invites me to work with them, in the beginning when I didn't have any connections, I had to meet people. But it's when you meet them that you realize
determine if they're good or bad for you.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
So it sounds like now you got a good circle. You got it's tight, but it's a solid circle.
Yes. Now I have a good circle.
So who are you? We talked off camera about our influences and whatnot. Yeah. So who is Gaby listening to right now? Who's inspiring you right now, musically, and even not musically, but who's inspiring you?
Musically, I'm listening to a lot of Shay Noir right now. Okay. I don't know if you know, she's an MC from Buffalo, New York. She put out 3 projects this year, actually. 3 projects. She's somebody that I respect very much and I've been really into. Another female MC, her name is Ciroc.
I've heard of Ciroc.
Yeah, Ciroc. She put out her debut album, actually. She had singles for a long time, and she finally put out her first album. It's crazy because she's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And she just put out her album, so I'm happy, and it was great. She's a big inspiration for me. I'm still listening to the artists that inspired me as a kid. You know, I still listen to Big Al and Tupac, but recently I've been listening to a lot of like Juggernauts. I don't know if you've heard of the Juggernauts. I'm a huge fan of Breeze from the Juggernauts. Actually, like, we follow each other on social media, and it's so dope to see him comment on my videos because I'm like, oh my god, the guy from the Juggernauts is commenting on my video. Like Breeze Bruin, who worked with Prince Paul, is commenting on my video.
Yeah,
like,
and
thank
Prince
you.
Paul is no small thing.
Yes, dream. It would be a dream to work with somebody as talented. If I could work with Prince Paul, that would be a dream come true, right?
You hear that, Prince Paul?
Ooh.
There you go.
No, but yeah, I've been listening to them again. So yeah, and then my boyfriend made me a playlist of Chino XL songs recently because he's actually a fan of my song Windows.
That's dope.
He commented on that. So because of that, I've been revisiting his
catalog.
Stuff. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's what I've been listening to.
That's dope. That is so dope. So last two questions, and this is given that you've gone through some things in life changing, some from a career, from a passion standpoint, some from personal life issues, what would you tell your younger self? What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self, be you. Do what you like, even if nobody else understands it, if nobody likes it. Continue to learn. And if you can, girls, start now. You should probably start now. Start. Don't wait anymore. That's what I would tell my younger self, to start now.
That's awesome. That sometimes we need to hear that, but we don't. Life is sometimes the best. The experience is the best teacher that we.
Yeah. But everything happens for a reason.
Of course.
Sometimes I look back and I think like, man, what would have happened if I would have started when I wanted to start?
Yeah.
If I would have just started then, as opposed to worrying about what other people were going to think about me and worrying about how I look and how everybody would perceive me and whether or not I would fit in. But at the same time, it's like, look, everything happens for a reason. If I would have started as younger me, I probably would not have been as wise because I was young. And now that I'm older, I'm wiser. I'm careful with the decisions that I make and the people that I surround myself with. So hey, there you go. And look at the success that you have acquired in this past year, just 1 year. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it would not have been this successful if you started when you were 18, 19 years old.
What
you know
is
what I'm saying?
God's timing is the perfect timing. Sometimes we think what was good for us when we're younger probably isn't. But the reason why I asked the question, because it's always good to hear in perspective of like, and you're almost reminding yourself like, okay, this is what I probably would have done differently, but life happened and this is how I addressed it. So it's great to hear that. And then, so here's the last question, life advice. You got an audience out there, either hearing the podcast or watching us on the tube. What would be your life advice to our audience?
Life advice to the audience regarding music or just anything? Just
anything that you feel that's pertinent to the conversation.
Life advice?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna regard it to music or to music, especially if you're a woman specifically, because I know that it's more difficult for women to get into the hip hop industry. And I'm just gonna share the advice that was shared to me when I first started out. Like I said earlier, your talent has to be undeniable. So worry about sharpening your talent more than anything else. Everything else can be denied. Everything else you're going to lose eventually, but what you're not going to lose is your undeniable sharpened talent. That, people cannot take that away from you. People cannot take that. They can deny everything else, but they can't deny your skills. So sharpen that first and foremost. Worry first about that. Worry less about trying to go viral. You know what I'm saying? Worry more about sharpening your talent. That's number one.
It goes back to what Prop said. Be dope. Just be dope. You know? Just be dope, and it'll come. It'll happen.
That's number one. That's number one. And I think this younger generation is worrying so much about just superficiality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Appearing a certain way, clout, going viral. You know what I'm saying? But what do you have to offer that people cannot take away from you, right? Be undeniable, literally.
Yeah, definitely.
Nobody can deny skill.
Yeah.
Sharpen that, That's number one.
That's great advice, and y'all need to take that advice like now. Like write it down, stop the podcast, and take that. Rewind it, go for it. Where can we find you? Where can the audience find you?
I have a website.
Okay, awesome.
That I created this year because of COVID. I had to learn how to do a website, and I did it myself.
Yeah.
A lot of trial and error, a lot of YouTube videos, but my website is everything's in there. The website is silvandgold.com. Silvandgold, it's spelled SILVAND gold.com. I have links to all my music, to all the music streaming platforms, my music videos. I even have interviews there too.
Awesome.
And merchandise in there
Yeah,
too.
so you step in the merchandise game.
Yeah,
That's legit. That's awesome.
My website has everything. So go there for everything. And I just finished my second album.
Oh, nice.
So it's done. It's done. We just have to mix and master, right? But that's a process in itself.
Have you released the name yet?
Yes, I have a name, but
Okay.
I haven't told anybody. So I'm
Okay.
going to tell you guys.
Fair.
No,
Okay,
the
hear
name
it.
of the album is Avant-Garde When the Time Comes,
Dope.
which is named after a song in the album. It's called Avant-Garde, which is actually the first song that we recorded for the second album,
That's really dope. You have a timetable when you're gonna be dropping it?
March.
You guys heard it here first.
March.
March.
Mid to late March.
And you caught the album title. So,
Yes, Avant-Garde, yes. So it's done. We just have to mix and master, and then we're there.
That's
so
awesome.
look out for it. It's an amazing album, and it really is. It's dope. It's dope. You're gonna love it.
Is this your proudest work? Or you?
Yeah.
Okay.
My
there
proudest
you go.
work.
There you
Yes,
go.
it's every album's
there
gonna
you
be
go.
better and better and better and better, and it's my proudest work.
That's awesome.
It's dope. It's so great. I just love it. I'm just gonna say it. I have One Below in there. So there you go. One
There you
Below
go.
from
Game
Binary
over,
Star,
right?
which
Game
is
over.
like a blessing and accomplishment for me.
That's
Shout
really
out,
dope.
Shout out to One Below. He's a great friend who
That's
believed
really
in me really, really early on. So yeah.
That's really well. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
This is our first time interacting outside of the gram, outside of I think you came here with the streaming with Junior and
with Junior.
Legendary Minds. So I really enjoyed this conversation, and we thank you for joining us here at the Gray LB Studios.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, support Silvandgold. Really dope music, really dope content. Again, thank you so much, and have a blessed one, guys.